So let's talk about the money and whether she did, in fact, reimburse him, because the court's going to have to make a finding on this. Once again, it's very unclear. He took the stand first, Nathan Wade, yesterday. And for the first time, Mike, we heard this business about how they split all the costs because she gave him wads of cash on these multiple vacations in Bahamas and then Bahamas again and Aruba and Napa. She just kept giving him wads of cash. And then he was asked the obvious question, can I see a receipt? Did you ever, you two understanding that you're both prosecutors and in a potentially compromising position where this kind of issue could come up, do you have a receipt? You could show that she gave you the cash. And I'll just front for the audience what's going to happen here. He's going to say no, and then he's going to talk about credit cards, and it's important. So take a listen to the whole thing, especially the very end in SOP 4.
In that interrogatory, they asked you if you had any receipts for travel with someone of the other sex up until the time you were answering it. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said that you didn't. You've already testified to that earlier. But in this affidavit, you swore that you had travel expenses and shared expenses on travel with Ms. Willis.
Again, during the course of my marriage, I had no relationship or receipts.
I'm not asking about during the course of your marriage.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask the witness to be allowed to answer the question.
Continue. I have no problem with him answering.
As it relates to receipts today, I don't have any receipts, ma'am.
So you don't have any travel receipts available to you for any travel that you did with Ms. Willis?
I don't have any receipts, no, ma'am.
No receipts that, so you used your business credit card for these trips, correct?
I use my business credit card for everything.
Okay, yes. You used it for your kids' tuition?
Yes, ma'am.
Used it for personal travel with Ms. Willis?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have receipts from those business credit cards that you have to file with your taxes, correct?
No, ma'am.
No.
I filed a statement. I turn over the statement, and whatever's there on the statement, the accountant looks at it, and the accountant says, okay, this is personal, goes over here, this is business, goes over here, here are your taxes.
So you have those statements. We'll call them statements instead of receipts. You have those statements, correct?
I have the statement, yes, ma'am.
Okay. But when you answered the interrogatory under oath, you said you did not have anything to show the records of travel with Ms. Willis.
I answered the question. I had no receipts, ma'am.
You had no receipts, but you had statements.
I ordered the statement, yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mike. So this is one of those weaselly lawyer tricks that people use to get out of saying, I didn't turn over the documents that I was asked for because I didn't want to. I didn't want to show the receipts of my affair to my ex-wife. And he's trying to weasel out of it by saying his credit card statement isn't a receipt.
Here's the problem with Nathan Wade and Fani Willis's whole, we roughly paid the same amount and Fani Willis reimbursed me for cash, but we have no evidence of that other than both of our words. We have no bank account transactions. We have no other evidence whatsoever. The problem is that, look, you have an appearance here of corruption. You have an appearance that Nathan Wade was illegally hired by Fani Willis, that she is paying him $250 an hour. She hasn't, and she's taken illegal kickbacks. She has an illegal financial interest in this criminal prosecution. So her affirmative defense is, oh, no. I paid cash for my half of these trips. Well, guess what? The burden shifts to her. It's her burden to prove that she paid cash. It's her burden to come forward and say, here's where I got the cash. Here's the transaction in my bank account. Here's where I took out the withdrew from the ATM with this cash. The burden's on her. So she has not met her burden of proof in this burden shifting exercise on their bogus cover story. And so that's where I think that she's going to lose with this judge.
Well, you're right, because I was actually kind of getting into his false interrogatory there and not so much their receipts in their relationship, which is the first thing we have to tackle. And they don't have any. And that's the bottom line. They have no receipts whatsoever. She was pressed on it. So was he. Did she go to the ATM right before she gave you wads of cash? Did she? No. Did you give her a receipt when she gave you all the cash? No. Is there anything that would verify that she actually reimbursed you for half of this travel? No, none whatsoever. No, absolutely nothing. And here's a little bit of that in SOT 6.
Then you tell us that Miss Willis paid you in cash all the money for the entire trip. It was a gift for you for your birthday, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure you probably have the deposit slips where you took the cash and deposited the cash into your account, don't you?
I did not deposit the cash in my account.
You don't have a single solitary deposit slip to corroborate or support any of your allegations that you were paid by Mrs. Willis in cash, do you?
No, sir.
Not a single solitary one.
Not a one.
Now, when Miss Willis would pay you in cash, would you scamper down to the ATM with her and as she drew money out of her account
Your
to
Honor.
pay you these thousands of dollars?
Mr. Gillen might scamper, but there's been no evidence that Mr. Wade does. I object to the phrasing, the argumentative nature of the question.
On that issue, overruled.
Did you and Miss Wade scamper down to the ATM machine and have her draw out, for example, on the Belize trip, just on your payment would have been $2,794?
Miss Wade,
For clarity, yeah, thank you.
Pardon me?
Miss Wade and I didn't go to Belize.
No, excuse me, Miss Willis. I'm sorry. Did you go down to the ATM with Miss Willis while she drew out $2,794 to pay you in cash? That you did you go to the ATM with her?
No, sir. She didn't go to the ATM. She carried the cash.
Oh, and so she would give you the cash. Did you have a little place in your house where you just stack up all this cash that you apparently got to repay you for these benefits that you bestowed on her?
Now, Mr. Gillen, if I answered that, I'm putting myself in jeopardy. If I tell the world that I have cash someplace in my home, don't you think that could be problematic?
No. Did you, in your declaration, sir, that was filed in this case, did you tell the court in that declaration that the expenditure that you had provided on behalf of Miss Willis was paid for back by her in cash, yes or no?
I believe that I did when I said that the expenses were split roughly evenly.
If you could point to me any place in your affidavit where you used the word cash, I would appreciate it. Take your time.
I didn't use the word cash. No, sir.
No, you didn't use the word cash, did you?
But I didn't say that she didn't give it to me in cash.
No, you just didn't tell anybody that you allegedly got paid back in cash, right?
No, I told everyone who asked.
Today.
Yes, sir.
It's just, look, I know I've been watching the coverage, Dave, on MSNBC and elsewhere and CNN, and what they're now saying is it's a black thing. You don't understand. Black people distrust the system. This is literally what I saw on CNN earlier. Distrust the system, and therefore they don't have checking accounts, even if they're the district attorney. She is the system. And they just bring wads of cash everywhere. Okay, even if that's true, she used Cash App. Why didn't she use Cash App to repay all these monies that she would have to know at some level could come back to haunt her given the relationship? It's just, it's not plausible.
This is the biggest challenge for both of them, is this reimbursement. Because I felt the same way when I heard Nathan Wade testify. Oh, and by the way, you saw how the lawyer also mixed up Wade and Willis's last name?
We're all doing it.
Yeah, good. It's not just me. All right. Well, that's the problem. That's the reason why I didn't think that Nathan Wade was too credible. When Fani Willis got up, and she did make it into more of a racial issue and a community issue, that her father's a Black Panther, and he taught her, don't rely on guys, always keep cash around. And that's why I believe they're going to call the father up under oath.
Yeah, he's up now.
He's up now. There you go. And so that's important. That's why if you have all this evidence that shows that, yeah, maybe that is plausible, I think it's hard to then definitively say that they're lying. I think it's going to be hard to do because the only evidence to the contrary is this one witness who said their relationship began earlier, and she has a motive to lie. And secondly, as weird as it sounds that they wouldn't keep any receipts, and I share your skepticism, but her explanation, buttressed by her father and perhaps others, is plausible.
It doesn't have to be definitive proof, Mike. I mean, this is witness testimony, so it's up to the judge to weigh the credibility. It doesn't have to be smoking gun proof that that's a lie. It can be, this is obviously not true. I don't believe them. They're wiggling too much. It's not plausible that there would never be an ATM withdrawal or deposit receipt by him. And the biggest point I thought was made is that Fani Willis, at the time she's allegedly carrying around these hunks of cash, thousands of dollars, she had a lien against her, Mike, for some almost $5,000 against her, I think her home, her mortgage. I can't remember exactly, but I think that's what it was. And that was asked of her, and she once again got all defensive. Oh, now you're going to tell me how to pay my bills? Like, what we're trying to do is prove this is not plausible, that you secretly had stashes of thousands while a lien was against you as, again, the sitting DA. With cyber attacks on the rise, protecting your data security is more important than ever. So why is Congress considering a bill that could put your credit card data at greater risk of being hacked and exposed to foreign networks? Our advertiser, the Electronic Payments Coalition, says the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill shifts billions in consumer spending to less secure payment networks, all so that corporate megastores can make bigger profits. Find out more about the issue at electronicpaymentscoalition.org and decide for yourself if you would like to tell your senators to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.